Airwaves guest this evening is filmmaker Frank Farel, who is the associate producer and had a part in the controversial new movie Street Trash. Frank's part is the most scandalous part in the whole movie. Frank, is it true that this movie is a little bit like Repo Man and a little bit like Reanimator and something like Toxic Avenger and Dawn of the Dead?
It's like a lot of things, but I guess the reaction we've generally been getting is, gee, this is unlike else that we can think of off the top of our heads.
Why?
It's a real multi-genre sort of hybrid.
Why are people comparing it to Repo Man?
Because it's a real train of thought, multi-character, multi-subplot into like ad infinitum bits, lots of characters, lots of sort of cross currents, and one sort of wild card thrown in that throws everything together.
I heard it was a real spontaneous movie that had a little bit of improvisation in it.
Yeah, fair amount of improvisation. Jim Yoro, the director, who directed from a script by Roy Frumkes, who was the producer of the film, was very good with his actors in terms of giving them a lot of freedom and keeping a very loose feel on the set. We had the luxury of a fairly long shoot for a relatively low-budget movie.
I heard that the script was written around the location, which is the car.
Yeah, it was an auto collision yard on the Brooklyn-Queens borderline, you know, sort of adjacent to hell. It was,
they call it Twilight Zone.
Well, it really was. It was the most polluted area that I've ever been in for a long period of time. You know, with right downstream from a slaughterhouse with pigs' heads floating by.
Is that why they compare it to Toxic Avenger?
No, the film has been compared to the film Toxic Avenger by a few distributors who have said that it succeeds in doing what Toxic Avenger wishes it was doing.
Well, Toxic Avenger wishes it got out there, and this.
Well, Toxic Avenger actually did. It made on sort of like the midnight circuit and that sort of thing. It made money and did pretty well.
And it was banned all over the place.
It was banned. It was controversial, but in the sense, I guess, where they managed to get the film seen by a lot of critics who wouldn't normally see films of that sort or by the same company.
Is this one
so
of those?
that's sort of mainstream, but I think that's what we're actually attempting with Street Trash too.
It isn't one of those give Jerry Falwell a heart attack movies, or
this? Yeah, this would give Jerry Falwell's entire state a heart attack. I'm serious. We had our premiere screening down at the Ziegfeld Theater on the 24th of September. Rented out the Ziegfeld, 1,200 people, right? Investors and their families. Literally every 10 minutes or so after a major scene came up, there were like relatives of investors storming out of the theater. They couldn't deal with the film anymore.
Are you going to give like little?
But of course, they're not our target audience. So.
Who is your target audience?
Probably, well, obviously fans of horror films. Teenagers. Well, you'd have to include all of us, I guess. Right. I think our target audience is essentially the exploitation film crowd, but beyond that, I think the film has a life beyond that. I think there's too much intelligence on screen that obviously came from behind the camera for people to just dismiss it and say it's another Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are involved in this movie are pretty intelligent people, and you all are really good.
I mean, the film has, believe me, you said controversial before, and the film has certainly gotten a strong reaction. I mean, people either hate it or love it, and without any middle ground.
And even though it hasn't been released yet, you've already had to cut 10 minutes out. Why?
Well, for running time, to be honest.
What 10 minutes are they taking out?
We started out with a first cut of 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is commercially unsound. Nobody's going to release a film unless you're a big director or have a deal through a major studio. So our goal was to get it down to 100 minutes, which we eventually did, cutting out a lot of stuff that we liked. And Vestron Pictures, which seems to be the one who's going to pick it up, theatrical and for video, wants to take, so it's 90 minutes, because 90 minutes means they can put X number of shows on during the day, as opposed to one less show.
Okay, in doing a movie that's that long, what's the problem for a director and the camera people? Because obviously, attention span would break in a theater with no commercial interruptions. What's the film technique that you use?
Well, it was, what do you mean technique specifically?
Do you use a lot of cross-cutting, or what's the editing?
There's a lot of cutting. There's an awful lot of cutting. The film was heavily covered in terms of shots and angles, and there's also a lot of moving camera, which is largely due to the fact that the director also owns and is the union operator of a device called the Steadicam, which is like sort of a strap-on device that's balanced to enable you to sort of get moving shots in almost any kind of a situation.
What about the special effects in this movie?
Special effects, makeup effects anyway, were primarily the work of two people, Jennifer Aspinall, who coincidentally worked on The Toxic Avenger, and Mike Lackey, plus another half dozen very talented people doing special props, etc. And God, I mean, we haven't even talked about what the premise of the film is. The
okay,
film takes place in the world of Bowery derelicts and winos and life's losers and society at its lowest possible strata, which tend to be the type of people that interest me more than the rich and famous or whatever.
Why?
I think they lead more interesting lives in a lot of ways.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So I was hoping maybe when the movie is released, you'll come back and talk a little more about it.
Be glad to.
And just for those of you who may not recognize Frank without his makeup, could you tell us what your character is and who you are so we can find you?
Well, let's just let's just say I'm at the center of the world's first epic comedy castration sequence.
Okay. Glad you had a good makeup artist. We've been talking to filmmaker Frank Farel on Video Wave, and I hope you're all going to rush right out there and see Street Trash. It's really controversial, and I hope those reviews are going to be really controversial too.